What does dating post divorce look like for you?
Yeah, man. Well, give again, like I know we've talked about the stuff before, history to a certain point, but it's a good thing to kind of reiterate some of the important things regarding the topic of the day. And yeah, dating after divorce was in some ways it experienced I experienced many challenges. I also experienced a lot of growth and understanding of myself, and I got to experience women who had different needs and different desires, and had their own deal breakers essentially. And I had two significant relationships post divorce, which I divorced back in 2018. So over the course of, I guess, 4 years now, just over 4 years. Yeah, two significant relationships, which to me makes sense, as they were significant, each one of them. But with that in mind, a big part of dating after divorce in my situation definitely was, what does this look like for my kid as well? Because when you have children, and you've been through divorce and stuff, you have a kind of a different outlook as to what dating might look like. And I would say that one of my faults that I experienced in both significant relationships after divorce was that I introduced my son to them fairly early on. And a kiddo with ADHD, its transitions can be hard. Introducing somebody to a kiddo who has already been experiencing a little bit of the unknown. What does life look like now that my parents are divorced and living in separate households? To have a new person introduced too early in the process could result in their emotional health being put into a state of compromise. So, not to say that I did do things wrong with respect to him, but I do think that I did introduce him a little bit too soon in the relationship, and
How
that actually,
how soon was too soon? What are we talking here? Like, when did you
yeah,
start
well,
talking, or did you make things official first, and then what was the time span? I'm just curious.
yeah. Well, when you're in that new relationship, and it's got that shiny new look to it, and that amazing new smell and whatnot, you start to lose sense of a little bit of priorities. So we got kind of that infatuated honeymoon phase going. My first relationship outside of divorce, and it just seemed like, oh, everything makes sense. We have so much in common. It's like, well, we have things in common so far, but she was just so interested in my world and my life and stuff that she was coming over to my place constantly. She had a roommate at her place. There's that, but just we were getting so much involved in time with each other constantly that she wanted more all the time, which, in some ways sounds sweet, sounds great, but also, it does tend to, result in you kind of ignoring other things, maybe trying to take it slow and take some time to really, really figure each other out. What does day to day look like, as opposed to, I'm just so excited about this person, I just want to have them with me constantly. Well, you're going to have to fall back into certain patterns too. And one thing that I was doing was still, becoming this new single father and taking care of a child. So suggesting to my child that I want to somehow include him in my happiness was kind of a skewed view of what was really taking place, which I was happy, yeah, for a time, but I also was still learning this other person. And I know I made a list of things that I would like to talk about at some point here in our discussion. But I think everybody should be well aware of what are some of their deal breakers, what are some of their red flags, and
Yeah.
what do your values look like. You could go, let's say you could go to the same church as this other person. Well, that doesn't mean that all of a sudden all your beliefs line up, or your political stances, whatnot. There could be some very big differences between people who essentially say they believe in the same thing. So I was
Yeah.
still in the discovery phase with this person when I introduced her to my son, and she was absolutely loving and just really kind to him, um, at the start, and it was great. It just felt it just felt like, hey, this is really going to be something amazing. And it was amazing for a time. But of course, we, like I said, we were still learning each other. And because I introduced my son so early to her, I didn't have that opportunity to just like focus on her when I was with her and then refocus,
Yeah.
back on my kiddo when I was with him. Um, and not to say those two didn't, exist apart from each other either. They did, but then there was just too much involvement right away. And then I learned some things about her that I would say, were unattractive. One could put it as, we had a different stance on, maybe a moral philosophy or politics or whatnot. There was just some differences, and I was actually getting kind of concerned. In fact, she challenged me in a way that was very uncomfortable for me. It wasn't as much as a challenge as much as it was like an assumption that I did not see things the way they should be seen. So more or less suggesting, nah, you're wrong. You obviously don't have things right. And this was what all of a sudden, after I had already introduced her to my son, I was receiving from her. And it was one of those things where I'd say it's the basics. These are the certain topics that topics and values that one holds, and it's good to have those conversations maybe earlier on if you're starting to feel something for somebody. And if you have that one-on-one time with them, you can really flesh that out and then figure out if the two of you are really well designed to fit together. And yeah, I think we kind of missed out on an opportunity there. And bringing my kiddo into it, unfortunately, means that my kiddo has to go out of it eventually too, and he's going to suffer a little bit for the breaking off of the two of us.